Marcus and I had been together for 8 years, preparing to get married, but on the eve of our wedding, after Marcus got drunk, his secretary climbed into his bed. Afterward, he fired the secretary in front of me and knelt down to apologize. I drank too much. I really don't remember anything. Don't leave me. I truly can't live without you. I forced myself to believe him, but half a month later, I caught Marcus taking his secretary for a prenatal checkup. He frantically tried to explain. I didn't know she was pregnant. I brought her here for an abortion. Please don't misunderstand me. I said nothing, but secretly followed them. I watched him carefully help his secretary into the car. You're pregnant, so don't move around too much. The beach is already bought for you. After the baby is born, I'll have Grace adopted under the pretense of it being an orphan. The secretary leaned sweetly into his arms. What if she doesn't agree? Marcus instinctively retorted. Grace loves me so much. She'll definitely compromise for me. I scoffed, a bitter smile on my face, and called Marcus's archenemy. I agree to be a stepmother to your children. He immediately replied, good. I hung up the phone, only to hear Marcus's exclusive ringtone. I answered the phone with a calm expression, his voice laced with urgency. Grace, the company has run into some trouble. I'm afraid I can't make our date tonight. Can I make it up to you tomorrow? Looking ahead, I saw Marcus embracing the charming Chelsea, his free hand gently patting her back. Chelsea smiled and stole a kiss on Marcus's lips, and I heard his breathing distinctly deepen through the phone. Before I could answer, Marcus hastily hung up, leaving me with, I'll definitely make it up to you tomorrow. My gaze was fixed straight ahead. As soon as Marcus hung up, he pressed Chelsea against him, playfully kissing her face multiple times. A sudden pang struck my heart. I hadn't seen him act like this in a long time. Marcus was always serious, doting, and gentle in front of me, but he never joked with me, nor did he treat me the way he treated Chelsea, even though I had long understood everything. Tears still fell uncontrollably at this moment. I wanted to turn and leave, but I couldn't even take a single step. It wasn't until Marcus pressed Chelsea against the passenger seat, kissing her until her face was flushed, then anxiously drove away, that I finally felt defrosted enough to pick up my phone. The screen showed a 30-second call log from 30 minutes ago. He only gave me 30 seconds, but he kissed Chelsea in the car for 30 minutes. Finally, that last trace of reluctance faded. I drove home, and as soon as I sat down, someone knocked on the door. This was their marital home, and we wouldn't have any unexpected visitors. I frowned and peered through the peephole. Chelsea stood there, holding a box, and smiled as she greeted me. Ms. Grace, you left your keycard in the CEO's car. I was worried you wouldn't be able to get into the company tomorrow, so I specially brought it to you. The CEO also asked me to bring you your favorite cake. Seeing that I didn't open the door, Chelsea's lips curved into a smile, but her eyes were cold as she rang the doorbell again and again. Unperturbed, looking at the keycard in Chelsea's hand, I let out a long breath and pulled open the door. Give me the keycard. You can keep the cake. When I saw the mangoes decorating the cake, my eyes grew even colder. Whether had forgotten or Chelsea had done it on purpose, I didn't care at all. Tomorrow, after I went to the company to retrieve some documents, I would immediately resign from my position at Marcus's company, but clung to the keycard, not letting go, and tilted her head, feigning innocence as she asked, can I come into their marital home and have a look? My blueberry-flavored condoms were left in the master bedroom. The CEO loves that flavor. And you, slap. My hand landed squarely on Chelsea's face, and the cake fell to the ground, smashed beyond recognition. My hand rose again, but it was seized by a powerful grip. Grace! Marcus's face was livid as he roared my name, his eyes full of impatience. Chelsea covered her face and cowered into Marcus's arms, crying pitifully. Wah! I was just bringing Ms. Grace something, but she inexplicably called me a homewrecker and insisted I get an abortion. Marcus's grip hurt my hand terribly, making tears stream down my face. But this time, he didn't wipe them away. He just asked, exhausted, do you have to be so heartless? That's a living human life. I've doted on you for so many years, always thinking you were just a bit spoiled and willful. When did you become so malicious? Marcus instinctively believed Chelsea's words, without an ounce of doubt. I stared at him in disbelief, barely recognizing the man I had loved for 8 years. Suppressing my hurt, I spoke. In your heart, is that truly the kind of person I am? Marcus's eyes flickered, realizing he had gone too far. He was about to speak when Chelsea suddenly clutched her stomach, groaning in pain, my stomach. Wah! Our baby won't be in danger, will it? I could tell she was faking the pain, but Marcus's eyes were filled with anxiety. I'll take you to the hospital. Chelsea looked at me piteously. Ms. Grace, I only made a foolish mistake because I love the CEO so much. I have difficulty getting pregnant naturally. Please let me have this child. Two neighbors from the neighborhood curiously peeked out, whispering amongst themselves, is that the other woman making a scene? Who is this brazen homewrecker? She's despicable. Marcus heard the murmurs and felt a moment of embarrassment, but when his gaze fell on Chelsea, who looked frail yet was still pleading with me, he was instantly filled with pity. Chelsea put on a brave face for love. I'm not afraid of being scolded, and I'm not afraid of being scorned by the world. I just want to be brave for myself. Hearing such shameless rhetoric, I couldn't stand it and sneered directly. Brave, indeed, knowing perfectly well that Marcus and I had been in love for 8 years and were already engaged. Yet you still managed to get him drunk and climb into his bed. Impressive, truly impressive. Grace. Marcus's face turned black as he picked up Chelsea, looking at me with disappointment. Your vicious, hurtful words are appalling. No wonder your parents divorced and didn't want you. With a deafening boom, a thunderbolt seemed to strike my mind. My parents' marriage was a family alliance, completely devoid of affection. After their agreed divorce when I was 7, they quickly started their own families. They considered me a burden, leaving me with my grandparents. Though I never lacked care, the absence of my parents was incomparable. Those unspoken tears of grievance I had only ever told him about. Marcus had clearly said he pitied me, and that my parents abandoning me after their divorce was their loss. But now, he was using that very thing to wound me deeply. My breathing hitched, and I lost all reason, raising my hand to slap Marcus. But he caught it instantly. Marcus's voice was icy. Let's both calm down. The wedding will be postponed. With that, he walked away without a backward glance, carrying Chelsea to the hospital. I looked at Marcus's retreating back with a self-deprecating smile, tears soaking my cheeks. The surrounding neighbors all looked on with sympathy. Didn't they just move into their newly renovated marital home? They even gave me a housewarming gift a few months ago. Right. Weren't they very much in love? How could there be an other woman? He used to carry her over puddles, but now he's carrying the other woman. How could this happen? They even invited me to their wedding reception. I wonder when the wedding will be postponed to. Even the neighbors found it incomprehensible. So how could I not feel heartbroken? But at this moment, I felt nothing at all, because my heart had been shattered by him countless times. Marcus claimed he was drunk and seduced by Chelsea, saying he lost consciousness and remembered nothing. But as someone who studied medicine, I knew that a truly drunk man would be completely unresponsive. He used such a clumsy, easily exposed lie to fool me. Yet I still, recalling our 8 years of affection, gave him a chance, hoping we could achieve a happy ending. But he betrayed my trust, hiding Chelsea in the Malibu house, taking her for prenatal checkups, and lying to me to be with her. Recalling the scenes I saw in the car, I turned and smiled at the neighbors. It's fine. The wedding will proceed as planned. You can all still come. The neighbors looked stunned, but I offered no further explanation. It wasn't until I returned to the master bedroom that I finally collapsed to the floor, utterly exhausted. My peripheral vision unconsciously fell on a blue package at the foot of the bed, with traces of several opened and used items nearby. A wave of nausea surged within me, and my stomach churned. I covered my mouth and rushed to the bathroom, dry heaving violently. Only when I felt the burning sensation of stomach acid corroding my throat did I forcefully stop myself. Just after I finished tidying up my documents and was leaving the Malibu house, an unknown number called me. I intended to hang up but accidentally answered. Chelsea's saccharine voice came through the phone. I just wanted you to keep me company. The baby hopes you'll accompany him too. Marcus's voice was impatient, yet I could detect a hidden tenderness. The doctor said everything's fine. Why are you so delicate? Chelsea laughed and said, it's all because you spoil me. Oh, by the way, I still can't quite believe you'd actually allow me to keep this baby. I thought you really disliked me. She feigned fragility, and Marcus, as expected, fell for it completely. Marcus frowned and interrupted. Don't belittle yourself. You're quite good too. Chelsea looked at Marcus with eyes shining with adoration, her heart filled with malicious intent. What's good about me? What do you like about me? Marcus curled his lips, playfully lifting Chelsea's chin with a smirk. I like you in bed. Grace is good, but she's too reserved. Making love feels like a routine chore with her. You're different. If it weren't for the baby in your belly, I would have had my way with you already. Chelsea purred seductively, making sounds like a cat. A knot of anger tightened in my chest. I never expected Marcus's infidelity to be merely due to base physical desire. 8 years of a relationship, lost to something so trivial. It was truly laughable. Emotionally exhausted, I couldn't bear to listen anymore and hung up the phone. Chelsea then sent me kissing photos and a picture of Marcus asleep by her hospital bed. She messaged me, "Mr. Lou is really looking forward to this baby. You're unwilling to have children, but you can't expect Mr. Lou to be childless for you. Can you?" My fingernails dug into my palms. Because I was abandoned by my parents as a child, I feared I couldn't be a good mother, so I was hesitant to get pregnant casually. 2 years ago, Marcus had suggested having children, and I politely declined, saying we'd wait until after marriage when our relationship was stable. At the time, Marcus smiled and said it was entirely up to me. Now, in Chelsea's words, it had become me demanding that he be childless for me. Simply ridiculous. A familiar number called. I answered and heard a familiar deep male voice. "Everything is ready. Are we still proceeding on the date we previously set?" Yes. I hadn't contacted Marcus during this time. After all, the groom had changed, so there was no need to dwell on it. But on the wedding day, he appeared with an inexplicably cold expression. He wore a blue suit, my least favorite color, and on his lapel was Chelsea's favorite pink rose boutonniere. Marcus walked up to me and lowered his voice. "I'm only here because I don't want you to be humiliated. You're using this forced marriage tactic to coerce me here. I'm sure you understand what my attire signifies, right?" Marcus was clearly trying to deliberately provoke me. I frowned, confused, looking at Marcus. Since he said we should calm down and postpone the wedding, we hadn't contacted each other for 2 months. How could he possibly think this wedding was for him? The few neighbors who came to the wedding whispered amongst themselves. I thought they'd broken up and wouldn't marry. But it turns out the groom still came. Can't you tell he's being forced? The groom's face is completely fallen. I don't know why she insists on marrying a man who doesn't love her. She's so beautiful and comes from such a privileged family. Yet she's a love-struck fool who can even tolerate infidelity. GYN clinic the other day. Her belly was already big. She must have been at least 5 months pregnant. But I had only discovered Chelsea had slept with Marcus 3 months ago. My thoughts quickly turned, and I realized Marcus and Chelsea had been together for much longer. I had just happened to catch them that one time. My disgust deepened. I spoke with a cold expression. "You don't have to force yourself. The man I'm marrying isn't you." Marcus froze, then let out a sudden, soft laugh. "If not me, who could you possibly marry?" Setting aside 8 years of affection, just considering our family's business partnership, do you think breaking off the engagement will bring any benefits? Stop messing around. We're not children. It was my fault that Chelsea got pregnant. Once she gives birth, I'll immediately send her abroad. All right? I looked at Marcus with a cold smile. Precisely because I knew breaking off the engagement would affect the company behind me, I had chosen a more powerful partner than him. I was about to explain when Marcus glanced down at his phone, and his face instantly darkened. His face black. He gritted his teeth and clutched my neck. "You venomous woman. I hid her so well. Why did you have to harm her?" I was being choked, almost to the point of fainting. I struggled to see the bloody photo on Marcus's phone clearly. Chelsea's weak voice message played. "I was forcibly taken by a group of men in black and had an abortion. It's my fault for not protecting our baby." The guests around us wanted to intervene, but Marcus roared. "Anyone who dares to intervene, don't blame me for blacklisting you from the entire industry and never working with you again." Everyone froze, stopping short, not daring to cause trouble. Marcus's gaze was ruthless. "You deliberately coerced me into coming here to get rid of the baby in her belly, didn't you? Do you think that without the child, I'll go back to being your lapdog? Dream on." He flung me away with a cold expression, his voice decisive. "I won't see you until you realize your mistake." Marcus turned to leave, and some people wanted to persuade him to stay. I gasped for air, then hoarsely yelled, "Let him go!" The groom left. What now? Can the wedding still continue? The groom publicly called off the wedding and left. This is a huge humiliation. Wealthy families with matching status will think twice before considering a family alliance. I stood up, composed, and smiled as I raised my glass to the guests. The wedding proceeds as planned. The groom is here. The roar of helicopters filled the air, and a dark swarm of helicopters circled above. Each helicopter was decorated in dreamy pink, and countless flower petals rained down. The lead helicopter landed at the end of the red carpet. A stern, handsome face came into view. Everyone gasped, "Isn't that Ethan, the chairman of Chen's group? Who's #1 on the rich list this year?" These words struck like a giant rock tossed into a calm lake, immediately stirring up a tidal wave. Doesn't Ethan already have 2 children? How can he be the groom today? Right. Isn't this being the other woman? What other woman? Ethan just has 2 children. He's not married. Those 2 children seem to be children born out of wedlock. She's not even married yet and already has 2 children born out of wedlock. Could it be that Ethan has been single all these years? What wealthy family would marry their daughter to someone like that? The surrounding chatter was noisy, but I seemed not to hear it, only smiling as I looked at Ethan. "You're late." Ethan tilted his head and shrugged. "My apologies. I was delayed preparing your gift." He pulled out a black velvet box from somewhere, and the moment he opened it, all discussion ceased. After a few seconds of silence, a thunderous gasp erupted from the crowd. The person who bought that legendary diamond ring in Italy half an hour ago was actually him. A diamond ring worth $1 billion being used for a proposal? That's an incredible gesture. The wealthiest proposals usually involve diamond rings worth a few million, or tens of millions at most. This is the first time I've seen $1 billion diamond ring. My gaze fell on the pigeon egg-sized diamond ring in the box, and I thought to myself, it's so big. It must be heavy. Ethan smiled and slipped the ring onto my finger. "It fits perfectly. Do you like it?" In front of everyone. I smiled faintly and nodded. "I do." Blessings poured in, and someone discreetly sent a message. Marcus, who was rushing to the hospital to find Chelsea, frowned instantly when he saw the message on his phone. "Grace has a new groom. She's marrying Ethan." He instinctively sneered. Ethan was divorced and had 2 children born out of wedlock. How could Grace, with her high moral standards, possibly choose him? Moreover, in Marcus's heart, I loved him devotedly. I would never choose his archenemy, Ethan. But even thinking this, a sliver of hesitation lingered in Marcus's heart. He stared at the message for a long time, finally decided to tell the driver to turn back, but then received an anxious call from Chelsea. "I'm hemorrhaging from the forced abortion. Can you come see me one last time? I'm so scared." The image of the frail, round girl flashed through his mind, and Marcus swallowed the words he was about to tell the driver to turn around. It's nothing. He thought. She's just temporarily canceling the wedding. Grace is definitely trying to provoke me. Besides, it was Grace's fault for harming Chelsea, so he should ignore her to punish her. Once reflects and apologizes, they can reschedule the wedding, and she'll definitely agree right away. Thinking this, Marcus couldn't help but curl his lips. He picked up his phone and sent me a relaxed message. "Until recovers, the wedding doesn't need to continue. Unless you admit your mistake and come apologize in person, I will never forgive you." Marcus imagined my joyful expression upon receiving this message, but his face darkened the moment he saw a red exclamation mark. I had not only unfriended him but also blocked him. He gritted his teeth and spoke with a sinister tone. "Fine. This is absolutely splendid." The driver felt a shiver of dread, hearing only a roar. "Turn back now." In his phone, Chelsea kept asking when he would arrive. Marcus looked at the constantly retreating scenery outside the window and felt utterly annoyed. He turned off his phone directly and urged the driver, "Hurry up." The driver was a bit impatient, but when he saw Marcus take off his Rolex watch and throw it to him, he smiled broadly and ran 3 red lights. This was a Rolex watch, each one worth tens of thousands. He wondered if the CEO had lost his mind, abandoning his fiancé only to mysteriously regret it. The closer he got to the wedding venue, the more frantic Marcus felt. He then noticed that the flowers at the entrance weren't the blue roses I had specially prepared for him, but pink carnations. Marcus's mind couldn't help but flash back to me cuddling in his arms, sweetly saying I loved carnations the most and wanted them to fill the wedding venue. But at that time, he had frowned and said, "Carnations aren't appropriate, and pink is trivial. Blue roses are rarer and more unique." My eyes had shown disappointment, but I still forced a smile and said, "Okay, we'll do what you like." But now, not a single blue rose was to be seen. All the details he and I had designed together were gone, with no trace of him anywhere. A lump formed in Marcus's throat, and his eyes were stunned by the huge wedding welcome portrait at the entrance. It was a picture of a smiling couple holding hands. The bride was the woman he had dated for 8 years, but the groom was someone else entirely. Marcus's eyes instantly reddened, and he clenched his fists, walking quickly inside, then involuntarily breaking into a run. But a waiter stopped him. "Hello. You can't enter without an invitation." Marcus gritted his teeth and glared at him. "I am the groom." "Ha, The waiter looked at Marcus in surprise, then glanced back at the wedding welcome portrait at the entrance, instinctively asking, "Sir, have you come to the wrong place?" But ignored him, pushed the waiter aside, and rushed in. As soon as he entered, he saw a couple embracing at the end of the red carpet, and thunderous applause erupted from the audience below. "Grace!" Marcus roared my name, the fury of betrayal impossible to suppress. Ethan frowned, intending to block me, but I raised my hand to stop him. The guests below watched Marcus return, all showing confused expressions. Why is he back? To crash the wedding? If he wanted to crash it, why did he leave earlier? He's clearly here to cause a scene. Tisk. TSK. TSK. He only realizes what he lost after it's gone. That's not necessarily true. After all, they dated for 8 years. As long as he sincerely apologizes, it's not impossible for the groom to change again. Marcus ignored the mockery, his gaze fixed on me. "Come here." Marcus reached out his hand to me, his voice hoarse. "I know you're being stubborn, but marriage is not a game. If you make the wrong choice, you can't regret it. Grace, my patience has its limits. Don't make me angry. In the past, I deeply loved Marcus and was most afraid of upsetting him, making countless compromises for him. But this time, I remained completely unmoved, just looking at him." A large hand firmly clasped mine. Ethan appeared calm, but his palm was covered in cold sweat. Looking up at Ethan, he forced a composed smile. I deliberately felt like teasing him, and I pulled my hand away from his. Ethan instantly panicked, looking somewhat at a loss where he stood. Yet he did nothing, just watched me with pleading eyes. Marcus saw this and curled his lips in satisfaction. "Grace, I knew you were just being stubborn." He spoke confidently to Ethan, a smug expression on his face. "Grace is spoiled by me. I apologize for embarrassing you today. I'll give you the Southridge project." Ethan's face darkened as he replied, "Not necessary." Now, Marcus's face was beaming with triumph. He could tell at a glance that Ethan liked me very much. But I only liked him. Just as Marcus was about to reach for my hand, he saw me take Ethan's hand, our fingers intertwining. Ethan's crestfallen eyes instantly lit up, and he looked at me in disbelief. Just moments ago, he had thought I had abandoned him. Marcus then belatedly realized that the matching promise rings I had worn for 8 years had been replaced by a pigeon egg-sized wedding ring. His face turned incredibly grim as he looked at me, his eyes filled with hurt. "Grace, do you have to be so heartless?" I retorted, confused. "Am I heartless? Since you said we needed to calm down, we haven't contacted each other for 2 months. In the adult world, cutting ties means automatically breaking up. Don't you understand?" How could Marcus not understand? But he had his reasons. He gritted his teeth and said, "No, it was your fault." I laughed, a mocking expression on my face, and said, "Then tell me, what did I do wrong?" The wedding venue was filled with business magnates, almost all potential partners. How could Marcus possibly reveal the truth? I remained silent, questioning Marcus with my eyes. Was my mistake not accepting his infidelity? Or being angry that Chelsea was pregnant with his child? Or slapping Chelsea? Marcus felt a little guilty under my gaze. He could only take a deep breath and plead in a low voice, "Grace, let's just say it was my fault. Let's not be angry anymore, and let's just drop it, okay?" Ethan, who had been silent all this time, looked at our intertwined hands and suddenly chuckled. "The ceremony is over. Why would we drop it? Grace is already my wife. Please don't debase yourself as a homewrecker." The words homewrecker hit Marcus so hard he almost couldn't stand straight. He gritted his teeth and glared at Ethan. "You took advantage of the situation. You knew Grace and I had been together for so long, yet you still shamelessly seduced her. What right do you have to bark at me?" As soon as Marcus uttered these words, his face froze, because I had said the exact same words to Chelsea, but had protected her, telling me with a difficult tone, "Chelsea is just a young girl who just graduated. How could she have so many schemes? She couldn't control her feelings and acted impulsively. I've already reduced her salary. You should just let it go." Past scenes overlapped with the present, and a heavy wave of regret washed over him. Marcus finally, belatedly, felt what I had felt. His throat dry, he said, "I'm sorry." I looked at Marcus scornfully, understanding perfectly that his apology was merely a fleeting thought. If I forgave him now, Marcus would undoubtedly bring up my relationship with Ethan occasionally in the future, even using it as an excuse and shield for his infidelity. I couldn't help but let out a self-deprecating laugh. Knowing someone too well wasn't always a good thing. After completely seeing Marcus for what he was, I only gave him an icy dismissal, no need for apologies. If you don't want everyone to know about your good deeds, then leave immediately. You're not welcome here. Seeing my unwavering attitude, the heavy stone in Ethan's heart finally lifted. Marcus's gaze flickered between me and Ethan, finally pursing his lips and speaking bitterly, "All right. I'll go. I just haven't had a chance to congratulate you on your wedding." He raised his glass, his eyes pleading as he looked at me. But Ethan raised his hand to block the drink for me. "Grace doesn't like to drink. I'll drink it for her." Ethan drained the glass in one gulp, his handsome Adam's apple subtly moving. Marcus's face grew even paler when he heard Ethan's possessive words. He suddenly remembered how I, after joining his company for love, had covered for him at social events countless times. Regret, delayed but powerful, surged through his heart. Marcus's eyes reddened, and after a bitter smile, he took 2 steps back and turned to leave. After left, Ethan, like a victorious general, held his head high and toasted every guest. Everyone knew that Ethan, known for holding his liquor well but always abstained because his parents died at the hands of a drunk driver and he hated drinking, had broken his rule for me today. How could they not understand that Ethan was using his actions to demonstrate his affection for me? Those who had said Ethan was only interested in my family background all fell silent, even if it was just for family background. The 2 families were truly well matched, a match made in heaven. It was just a shame that Ethan still had 2 children born out of wedlock. Poor Grace would become a stepmother as soon as she married. After the banquet, Ethan, who was known for his high tolerance, was a little drunk. I had the waiter help him into their marital home, and after confirming he wasn't completely inebriated, I laid down 3 ground rules, as we agreed before. My marriage to you is purely a family alliance. I won't raise your children, nor will I lower my standards for you in future collaborations. You said you only needed me to be a nominal Mrs. Chin, and that after marriage, you'd transfer the stone quarry in Shijiao to me. When you transfer it, that's when I'll register our marriage with you, in front of outsiders. We'll pretend to be a loving couple, but privately, we're just partners. I'll go to the guest room in a bit." Before I could finish, Ethan had already wrapped his arms around my waist, drunkenly calling out, "Wifey, don't chase me away." I froze for a moment, then thought he might be drunk and recalling the birth mother of his 2 children. No one knew who the mother of the 2 children was. They only knew that Ethan had suddenly announced the arrival of a son and a daughter 8 years ago. Many speculated that Ethan might have been dumped and was too embarrassed to ever mention the children's birth mother to the outside world. Thinking this, I couldn't help but sigh. Indeed. No one can escape the grip of love. Even someone as stoic as Ethan would miss his beloved when drunk. Ethan, I'm not your wife. You're drunk. I reached out to push Ethan away, but he was holding on so tightly I couldn't move him. Ethan grabbed my hand and argued, "You're wearing my wife's exclusive diamond ring on your finger. You are my wife." I was momentarily speechless. I shook my head, telling myself that it was pointless to reason with a drunk person. He wouldn't listen anyway. "All right, I'm your wife. Now let go. I need to wash up and go to sleep." A glint of cunning flashed in Ethan's eyes. Before I could react, I was pressed onto the bed and kissed on the lips. When I tried to push him away, Ethan had already pulled back, dutifully pulled up the covers, and said to me, "Wifey, hurry and wash up. I'll wait for you here." I was somewhat shocked. I hadn't expected Ethan to have such an unguarded side. I removed my makeup and washed up in the bathroom, assuming Ethan had already fallen asleep. However, as soon as I pulled open the door, I saw him blocking the doorway. His face was flushed. "Wifey, why did you take so long to wash up?" "I came to get you." "Ha!" Without giving me a chance to react, Ethan picked me up and carried me into the master bedroom. He seemed drunk, yet every step was steady. I was so startled that I didn't notice the look of triumph that flashed in his eyes. When I finally came to my senses, Ethan had already pulled the covers over us, turned off the light, and held me by the waist. "All right, wifey, it's time to sleep now." I remained stiff for a long time, seeing that Ethan made no further moves. I gradually closed my eyes. In the darkness, Ethan, who had been feigning sleep, slowly opened his eyes. By the moonlight, he propped himself up, gazing at my profile with deep affection and longing. For a very long time, after was escorted out of the wedding venue, he felt a moment of helplessness, unable even to recall where to go. It wasn't until Chelsea sent him another message. "Mr. Liu, are you abandoning me?" Marcus looked at Chelsea's dozens of messages above, a surge of impatience rising within him. If not for her, Grace would never have been so angry, and he would never have reached this point with Grace. Chelsea stared at her phone. Seeing that Marcus still hadn't replied, she grew increasingly frantic. Today was supposed to be their wedding day. After all, couldn't Grace have successfully held their wedding? Chelsea stared at the pool of blood beside her. She had planned to let Marcus see it with his own eyes to deepen his hatred for me, but to her surprise, Marcus didn't come at all. Chelsea bit her lower lip hard, and after a long moment, she looked at the bloody mess and said, "I'm sorry, baby. It's your fault for not being Mr. Lou's child. Otherwise Mom wouldn't have had to go this far." Marcus, who had just reached the hospital room door, his eyes hardening, suddenly kicked the door open and demanded, "What did you say?" Chelsea frantically shook her head and denied. What? How did you get here?" "I didn't say anything just now. You must have misheard, but wasn't fooled." He grabbed Chelsea's neck and tightened his grip. "Do you want to die?" Chelsea was determined not to speak, but Marcus's grip grew tighter and tighter. The dizzying sensation of suffocation filled her with terror. Realizing truly intended to strangle her, Chelsea wept as she spoke. Mr. Lou, please let me explain. I was drunk by Mr. Davison at the time. I didn't know I'd get pregnant with his child. I thought it was yours." "I didn't expect to be pregnant with his child." Marcus's eyes seemed to spew fire. "You slut." He suddenly released Chelsea, then raised his palm and slapped her across the face. Chelsea tried to escape, but her body, weakened from the abortion, couldn't flee. The next second, Marcus grabbed her leg and dragged her back, beating her violently. Numerous fists rained down on her body, and Chelsea let out a shrill wail. Those who tried to intervene were threatened by Marcus and dared not step forward, until hospital staff finally arrived belatedly to stop him. Chelsea was rushed back into surgery immediately after being discharged. Marcus's face was cold as he called his assistant, "Get out of the country, and make it as miserable for her as possible." The assistant paused. Didn't the CEO accompany secretary for a prenatal checkup just a few days ago? But he didn't ask further, immediately replying, "Understood." Many conjectures arose in Marcus's mind. With a cold expression, he returned to their marital home, which he had prepared for me, and pulled up the security camera footage from the entrance. That day, he hadn't gone home, using work as an excuse because of the baby in Chelsea's belly, but he discovered my belongings were left in his car. Chelsea had told him that if he showed up in front of Grace, his lie about being busy would be exposed. So, he had dropped Chelsea off at the entrance of their marital home and watched from the shadows as she delivered something to Grace. He hadn't expected to see Grace attempting to hit Chelsea without thinking twice. In his haste, he had rushed out. Once the security camera footage loaded, Chelsea's clear voice reached his ears. "Can I take a look at your marital home? I left the blueberry-flavored condoms in the master bedroom. The CEO likes that flavor best." You, watching smug, provocative face on the security camera footage. Marcus even wanted to rush into the operating room and kill her. Just then, Marcus suddenly noticed the cake that had fallen on the ground, clearly adorned with mangoes. But he distinctly remembered telling them that Grace was allergic to mangoes and only liked blueberry cake. No wonder Grace was so angry. An allergic reaction could be fatal. Marcus clenched his hands into fists and contacted his contacts abroad. "Tomorrow, I'll send a woman over. Make sure you treat this bitch well." The person on the other end immediately understood. "Mr. Lou." Marcus hung up the phone, a fierce longing for me surging in his heart. He drove to my house without a second thought. Seeing the new wedding decorations filling the yard, his eyes reddened. I woke up in the middle of the night to get water, just as I heard the familiar roar of a sports car, pulling back the curtains. My eyes met his, and my heart sank. After all we'd said, Marcus still wouldn't give up. Seeing that I wasn't moving, Marcus immediately prepared to climb the wall. I impatiently walked downstairs to stop him. "Marcus, are you insane?" "I'm sorry, Grace. I don't know what to say, but I truly know I was wrong." Marcus dropped to his knees before me with a thud. "Please, give me one more chance, okay? From now on, I swear I'll never make another mistake. If you're willing, I can give you all the shares under my name. Everything I own can be yours." I stumbled back, bumping into a warm embrace, and felt a jacket being draped over my shoulders. "It's cold tonight. Put on more clothes." Marcus saw Ethan and his demeanor instantly changed. As if confronting an adversary, he gritted his teeth, pointed at Ethan, and asked me, "You couldn't accept me having other children, so why can you accept Ethan's 2 children?" His tone was pleading. The child Chelsea was carrying wasn't mine. It's already been aborted. I have no other children. Only you can be the mother of my child. I truly can't lose you. Ethan's gaze was indifferent, and he spoke mockingly. Grace couldn't accept the infidelity and deceit. Besides, who told you those 2 children are mine? At's words. I suddenly remembered that those 2 children had never called Marcus dad in any setting, only uncle. But everyone assumed it was just to save face, as having children before marriage wasn't considered good. I stared at Marcus, realizing there might be another possibility regarding the children. Marcus instinctively retorted, if those 2 children aren't yours, whose could they be? Stop lying. I would never let you deceive Grace. Ethan scoffed, offering no further explanation. Just a stern warning, trespassing is illegal. Get out now if you don't want to be front-page news tomorrow. Marcus's breath hitched. This was the first time he had been thrown out, but I remained unresponsive, simply watching him with cold eyes, realizing that Ethan and I shared the same thought. Marcus's face instantly turned pale. He could only leave reluctantly, but as soon as he got into his car, the police pressed him to the ground. You are suspected of intentional assault resulting in death. Please come with us. Marcus was stunned. What? The police officer's gaze was cold. Chelsea's injuries were too severe, and resuscitation failed. You must come with us. Ethan and I witnessed the entire process, both wearing expressions of grim satisfaction. In his last second, Marcus tried to struggle for one last look at me, but the police had him firmly pinned, making any movement impossible. Back in the house, Ethan gripped my shoulders and said, those 2 children are my older brothers. My brother ran away with his wife back then, so he was disowned by our parents. The world only knows of one Ethan in the Ching family, but they don't know about Arthur. Back then, my brother finally agreed to humble himself and bring his wife back, but he never expected to die with Mom and Dad in that car accident. I pulled Ethan into a hug, interrupting his painful memories. I had already guessed as much. Ethan was surprised. How could you have? I looked at him and said, because and I were high school classmates. I knew he had a younger brother named Ethan. Which is you? Ethan held me tightly and wouldn't let go. I chose not to explain about the children primarily to protect them, and I've truly liked you for a long time. I didn't want to be constantly set up with women, so I never clarified. You and he dated for so long that I had resigned myself to being single forever. Listening to Ethan's confession, I felt a pang of confusion, unsure how he had fallen for me. I'm not trying to gain your pity or force you to accept me. I just hope you'll give me a chance. Looking into Ethan's earnest, hopeful eyes, I nodded involuntarily. Okay, I should give Ethan a chance, and myself a chance too. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is Roses and Love, sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.